I'll start off the coast of Venezuela. There are big questions about whether these strikes are legal and whether Congress will move ahead. It's been a failed effort so far with a War Powers Act. What authority does the president have to blow up these ships in international waters?
Yeah, according to him, all the power he wants, and according to quite a lot of other people, he's acting illegally against people who are not armed combatants of a state with which the U.S. is at war. And I think that's one of the main things here. That's why you've seen Congress move. I think there's also been a lot in the air about whether he will go beyond these strikes on boats.
Regime change.
Exactly, to something like that, or to strikes on the Venezuelan mainland as well. I mean, he's long alleged, Marco Rubio has long alleged that Maduro is part of this, narco-terrorist network.
Yes.
And drug traffickers, terrorists, they're one and the same. They all deserve to be taken out. So we're seeing this in international waters now. Are we going to see it on the Venezuelan mainland with attacks that might bring, U.S. Air Force in contact with Venezuelan Air Force? We have no idea what we are, but that's something that I think a lot of people are looking for, whether they're going to expand this based on things Trump himself and people in his administration have said.
We did see them scramble jets at one point to buzz some of our ships. We've still got a flotilla off the coast of Venezuela, essentially. So big questions. That would require technically an act of Congress to be attacking cartels on the ground in another sovereign nation, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen airstrikes, say, for example, in Iran, where the U.S. backed Israel's attacks there with the big bunker buster bombs. I think people in Congress would certainly say, Democrats would certainly say, you need some authorization from Congress. Yeah. Trump has shown he's willing to go forward with a lot of things without Congress, and Congress is not always willing to, come back and formally kind of reprimand and ask that they be taken into consideration. So we'll see, I think. And it'll be interesting to see if Venezuelan strikes continue. I mean, it's interesting that they're continuing, but still with boats, because that's something that he's already done numerous times before.
That's for sure.
We'll see whether it kind of escalates from there.
We heard from the president on Truth Social as well about his trip to the Middle East yesterday and the release of hostages, writing in mostly caps, "All 20 hostages are back and feeling good as can be expected," he writes. "A big burden has been lifted, but the job is not done. The dead have not been returned as promised. Phase 2 begins right now." President DJT, presumably he wrote that if he signed it. What happens if remains are not returned? Hamas has said they cannot locate them all.
We're seeing that already. Today there was some breaking news moving, suggesting that Israel is halving the amount of aid it's putting into the Palestinian enclave right now because of the delay in returning the bodies of the hostages. Obviously, this is a highly emotive issue in Israel. And this is a sign of exactly how complicated this deal was. I think a lot of people were surprised that the deal came together kind of as quickly as it did in the end, and that Hamas agreed to release the living hostages. I think there's a lot of people, we have some stories now on the wire from correspondents suggesting that this is the moment that a lot of countries in the region are viewing with anxiety. They don't want this deal to fall apart. They don't want another cycle of violence beginning again in Gaza as Israel and Hamas start to feud and bicker over the details here, the number of bodies, exactly where Israeli troops retreat to, and things like that.
Well, this is a pretty delicate moment we're in. We were discussing yesterday what will be required in terms of dismantling the tunnel network underneath Gaza. And if Hamas police are on the streets, you're going to have IDF forces sharing blocks with them. How does that remain a ceasefire?
This is everything you're talking about are potential flashpoints that have long bedeviled any attempt to get this type of ceasefire. Difficult. These were the deals, I think, to some degree, that the Biden administration was trying to hash out in advance. And it was so difficult to get buy-in on some of those that there was never any deal, right? And so the Trump administration has pushed forward very quickly to the hostage part, which was always the main part. But now come the details.
Well,
these were the things that, where there was a lot of disagreement on.
As we move, assuming we move into phase 2 in any concerted form, there's going to be a real conversation about who governs Gaza. Now, there's this temporary authority, of course, and that has yet to be fulfilled. This board of peace has yet to be named, from what I understand. But the idea of a two-state solution is not embraced by all the parties who signed off on this, is it?
No, and that's putting it mildly. I mean, the Israeli parliament condemned any attempt to go forward with this. They view it as rewarding Hamas for October 7th.
But we heard El-Sisi on a microphone in front of the president endorse that idea yesterday. How do we get around that?
I think that is what the region views as a solution to this. Yeah. And historically, the U.S. has also viewed that as a solution. But, historically also, the U.S. and Israel have been very fast, close allies. And so it is a difficult thing to bridge. And I think probably an attempt will be to bridge it with vague enough language, a vague enough timeline that you can appease regional actors and potentially the Palestinians with a process that moves it forward, but in Israel's view, probably doesn't move it forward enough, or moves it forward in a way where Israel can maybe pull the plug on it if they don't want it.
You've been covering this for years by way of your beat on diplomacy, on the State Department. You've traveled with multiple secretaries of state into the region. Is the narrative correct that Israel's neighbors want to do business, that there is an economic incentive to normalize trade ties with Israel, that there is in fact opportunity there, or is that being overblown here in the United States?
I think it's true in that there is an undercurrent of a lot of regional leaders wanting to do business with a dynamic economy. But there are these long-standing cultural issues that for them, with their own population, gets in the way of them signing those kind of deals.